Hey, we're back, guys. We are back.
Hoy, hoy.
We are back with the second half of our CGC haul.
Yeah, best of the rest, I would say.
As we mentioned last week, Jose just got a big stack of graded books back from Retro Rare Collectibles. Went out almost a year ago. Took a long time to get them back because we took the slow boat to China this time, right?
Yes, we did.
And but last week we showed the lower grade stuff. This week, this episode, we are showing the higher grade stuff, and we have got some absolutely spectacular books to show you tonight. I know you're going to be excited. Unfortunately, again, Mike's not with us again tonight. He's been working a lot of Saturdays, unfortunately.
Okay, so without further ado, so to start off this show, the macro on is first 8 more books, the second half, featuring the higher grades, 2 7s, 2 8s, 2 8.5s, and 2 9s, and also the macro spec from the breakdown from DC and Marvel. It's 7-1, 7 DC, 1 Marvel titles on this flight. So we'll start with Adventure 293 from February of 1962. Of course, you know this, one of my personal favorite teams in comics beside Marvel's X-Men has always been the Legion of Superheroes. Now, the main problem for me and for many other fans of the Legion is, of course, that their first appearance in Adventure 247 from way back in 1958 is so bloody expensive, with low-grade copies selling in the thousands and higher-grade copies, of course, fetching well over 10K. Now, even their second appearance in Adventure 267, which I am happy to relate I recently snagged and it will be submitted, is hard to find and expensive in its own right. Certainly, of course, not what I would call affordable. Now, this book here has more than a few moving parts as far as the key issue goodness is concerned. In no particular order, of course, this issue features the first appearance of the Legion of Super Pets as a team, the first appearance of Comet the Super Horse, the first appearance of Bizarro Lex Luthor, as you can see there from the title, if that's such a thing. Remember my comments from World's Finest 156 on that. And of course, well, of importance to me, finally, the second appearance of General Zod. Again, second appearance goodness here.
Can't go wrong there.
I think, generally speaking, that these early mid-60s DC books like this one here make for safe investment, because increasingly these kind of books in above fine 6.0 grades are getting harder and harder to find. I really don't expect a book like this to see huge sudden gains, but instead I strongly expect to see slow and steady appreciation as more copies inevitably find their way into strong-handed collections like mine and don't see the light of day for a long extended period of time. Now, having said all of that, if I could just only manage not to overpay, that would stand me in good stead investing wise. Now, easier said than done in this wild and crazy seller's market. Let's get down to the knuckles about this. I first featured this book, of course, in episode 91, the Ontario CollectorCon episode back from June of 2018. I paid $300 Canadian, $225 US exchange rates at the time for this. Predicted guide, again, it came within half a point. I predicted a VF minus 7.5. It came in at a 7. Now, fair market value, believe it or not, for a 7.0 currently is about $130 US. Now, what can I say about that? I overpriced.
You're underwater right now.
I'm underwater. Now, my selling window in 10, 12, 15 years, I don't think a book like this will appreciate to the point where I will make a huge gain on it, but the expectations are I will make my money back and maybe make a few bucks on it, for sure.
And just so you know, guys, we do talk a lot about money here and about the price of books. But again, we don't collect because we want to make money, although if you do make money, it's fine. There's nothing wrong making a profit. But we collect because we like it. That's why we do this.
And one word before we move on to the next book. I mean, what I consider this to be doing, and like whether you believe in slabbing or not, what I'm basically doing is basically what I would call management of my estate, in the sense of the books that I feel offer the best investment potential going forward. I want them, put them in a position where, like I said, when it comes to selling, the ease of it will be minimized, in the sense that a collection of a few hundred books, I mean, you can imagine the slabbing cost would be movie, if you wanted to make
Yeah.
the best return on them and had to spend money slabbing them, you'd be talking thousands of dollars. So for me, the easier way to do that is, send books once, maybe twice a year if I can, and get the books that I feel offer the best return on investment slabs. So down the road, when it comes to selling, I can maximize my profit.
Definitely, no doubt. Yeah. Great book. Nice way to start the episode, Jose.
Hoy hoy on that one.
Okay, next up we got JLA number 9. Is this the one that Sandy wants to take off your hands? Is this the one?
No, that's the second one we'll be featuring here later on this episode.
Yeah.
JLA number 9 from February 62. I guess just from a numbers perspective, in retrospect, I am so glad I really held to my guns on this one. As I remember when I was looking to purchase one, there were a lot of dealers trying to unload this issue after the release of the subpar JLA movie. And keys at the time, they were really offering them for really bloated prices. I thought sometimes 2 to 3 times guide for the grade. That kind of type of, I would consider almost out and out gouging. Yeah, sometimes sticking to a particular price point and holding firm is the best option. If you want reasons to pick up this early JLA, check it out. I first featured this in episode 98 at the Fan Expo Hall from October of 2018. What did I personally pay? I paid $200 Canadian, which at the time was about 150 US. Currency exchange, all went in with slabbing costs. I figure about 260 Canadian, which is about roughly 200 US at the time. Predicted grade was a 6.5, a fine plus. Again, it came a half grade higher, a fine, very fine 7. For a 7, the fair market value is currently about 230 US or about 300 Canadian.
That's not bad, eh?
It's basically, I got my money back and I could make a small kind of profit should I want. It's in the top 41.6% of the census, so it's a kind of mid-table book. But like I said, again, as with the previous one, grades above 6, 6.5 are getting increasingly scarce. I just, I remember, like I said, seeing dealers for mid-grade copies asking $500, $600, $700.
Yeah,
Which at the time was just, I thought, like at least a couple of 3 times guide for the grade there. Like these mid-grade copies that they were really just trying to, I guess, unload on people whose market knowledge of the kind of thing was, not as great as some people would want in a situation where the movie, I don't want to say had, tanked, but I mean, the reviews were not positive and a lot of people did not like the movie. So, I mean, obviously affected a book like this.
For sure.
Yeah. But again, it's the first origin issue. So, I mean, if you can't afford like your first appearance in Brave and the Bold 28 or the second and third appearances in 29 and 30 or their number 1 from this first titled series, then where are you going to go? You're going to go to the origin. Enough said.
Yeah. And a grade of 7, that's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing to sneeze at. Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, for sure. Great book, Jose. Okay, so, well, needless to say, on this one, you received a bit of the old proverbial kick in the sack, as it were.
Oh, no.
Oh, gee, you were not expecting this.
No, I wasn't. But, shame on me. I should have looked the book over more thoroughly. But, I mean, it was easy to miss in the sense that the green qualified label on this book means that it is incomplete or missing something. In this case, page 11, which, again, does not affect the story. But, again, it is missing a part or component of the book. So they have given it the old dreaded green qualified label. In almost 100 submissions, this is my first green. I have one pre-existing purple label that was for that fiction house.
You remember that?
Yeah, so this is Daredevil issue number 8 from June of 1965. I picked this up and I was so excited when I picked it up because it features my favorite cover from the entire run, and that's saying something considering all the great Miller Daredevils from that run there. This, of course, we first featured in episode number 77 back from October of 2017. That was the movie posters and comics episode. If you want to know the reasons why to pick up this book, I guess you can go back in the archive and check out. I mean, for me, it was just basically cover appeal, and it really looked better than I thought it was.
It looked like quite a high grade at the time.
I predicted at the time 8.5, possibly 9. I said at 8.5 to be conservative, but Sandy was a bit disappointed, and he said it should be a 9. I would say one thing that, I mean, I always deal with dealers I'm very comfortable with. with. And let me just say, without getting into details, I was made whole that in the sense of the kind of loss that I would have felt, like I said, if I would have tried to have sold this, I was made whole by the, like I said, the person. And I was very so to the point where basically all I ended up saying with this is that having been made whole, I don't really think too much of having a green qualified label, because like I said, this is my favorite cover from the Daredevil run. It's a good enough copy in 8.0, and it's not missing something that's integral to the book. So I mean, I know I'm trying to rationalize that, but when I'm trying to say, well, I'm not happy, I am very content with this addition to the collection.
For sure, yeah. Disappointing when that happens, but it's going to happen to all of us on occasion.
When you're buying and selling and buying as many books as we are, kind of usually sometimes a couple hundred or more books a year, you're going to miss stuff. It's just going to happen. You just have to be more vigilant and do a better job next time.
Yeah. Okay, now we're starting to get into some of the really, really nifty stuff that we got back, or that Jose got back. I said Jose got back.
They have sole ownership of me. I have complete title to all these books. Don't you get any ideas, you?
That's right. Well, maybe yours is ours. Maybe you should share in the wealth. What
Sharing
do you think?
is not caring in this situation. What's mine is mine, and what's yours is mine.
We got a nice detective. What's 363 there?
Yeah, Detective 363 from May of '67. Now, the other day I was reading something about Warren Buffett and the way he bought stocks. It was all about finding quality and value. Now, personally, to me, that means mainly knowing the basic difference between an investment book and a spec book. An investment book has built-in value for one reason or another, and that value has held for a decent amount of time and can be expected to hold its value into the future. Now, some of the time investment books have spec potential as well. These are the great books because they offer a chance to see big value gains on a book, but with little to no chance that the book ever ends up worthless. Now, a solid investment with some spec potential is always a bonus, and it's the way to play a value investment. Now, this brings us to Barbara Gordon's second appearance as Batgirl in Tech 363. This book is interesting for a couple of reasons, aside from the obvious second appearance of Batgirl. Now, one of the first things that got me to notice this book is the beautiful Carmine Infantino cover. It's arguably a better cover than Tech 359, her first appearance, with Infantino being remembered for, among other things, in lists of his top Batman covers and the like. So I think this book has an amazing cover to go with the content inside. Having a book with both is always a good thing, in my opinion. Now, the other thing that Tech 363 has going for it is the debut of Natalia Knight, aka Nocturna, who goes on crime sprees to support her lavish lifestyle and medical bills that she has from being hit with a radioactive laser that drained her completely of pigment and made her super duper sensitive to light.
Nice.
I think the biggest bang for your buck, potential anyway, is to buy a raw copy and slab it for yourself, as I did. It's a great way to invest in books whose slab copies may be out of your price range, and it can still be a great way to get a nice copy of this book. So, considering all the factors with this book, I believe Warren Buffett would approve because it delivers that quiet, under-the-radar value that makes it a good addition to the portfolio, collection. All right, breaking it down, I first featured this in episode 92, the Toronto Comic Book Show Con from June of 2018. Remembering I paid $80 Canadian plus slabbing costs, all in about 140 Canadian. At the time was just a few bucks over 100 US with current exchange rates then. At the 8.0 VF grade, fair market value is $210 US, so around 260 Canadian. And while only being in the top 67.5% of the census, there are only 82 copies graded higher. So that tells me that of the copies there, about 2/3 are in really good nick. So there may be good copies out there that are still to be found. Again, I say the play is buy the best raw copy you can find and slab it yourself. Do not pay over bloated prices on kind of overpriced slabs on this book.
Correct. Well, that's great, Jose. That's a great book, and yeah, nothing wrong with a grade of 8. That's for sure. Okay, so we are going into the final 4 books from Jose's latest CGC haul, and the grades are getting higher and higher, and the books are getting more and more spectacular. And of course, this one is no exception, Jose. Justice League of America. Now, what I can't even see that number there. My eyesight's getting really bad.
So here we're featuring JLA 21 from August of 1963. This book features the first Silver Age appearance of Hourman, Dr. Fate, Icicle, and Wizard. The issue also reintroduces the Justice Society of America into the Justice League title, just as it says there on the cover. The Crisis on Earth 1 story is a prelude to the Crisis on Infinite Earth saga, and it is the issue that starts the tradition of the annual JLA JSA Crisis crossovers. Yes, I know that Flash issue 123 from September of 61 is the first comic book that introduced the idea of the multiverse. But that book has priced itself up quite nicely, thank you very much. JLA 21 is as stale as yesterday's donut right now. The book is a big piece of the whole history of DC Comics, and I kind of see interest and demand in the book eventually increasing. JLA issue 22 had the follow-up story Crisis on Earth 2. In August of 64, JLA issue 29 had the next story Crisis on Earth 3. Members of the two teams would meet once a year until the epic Crisis on Infinite Earths in 1985. Now, you can snag a CGC 9.2 copy for about $1,500 US, while a very solid CGC 8.0 copy can be had for about $460 US on average. Now, for comparison's sake, a CGC 9.2 copy of Flash 123 will run you well over $12K. Even a CGC 8.0 copy will set you back well over $4,600 US. Now, the point here is that JLA 21 is cheap at the moment, and that's the big reason, of course, which I've snagged it. Now, as big as I know it's not as big a book as Flash 123, but I think it doesn't really have to be. There's lots of room for growth at today's prices. Mike Sekowsky's cover pays homage to the All-Star Comics issue number 3. That's the book that featured the first appearance of the Justice Society of America. JLA 21 is a big DC book with first Silver Age appearances that I think should be revered more in the marketplace. The play here is a CGC 8.0 DF copy. Don't go lower. There are less than 100 CGC graded copies at 8.0 or better, which gives you real scarcity of grade. Okay? Now, my broad perception is that anything JLA has been tainted, of course, by the subpar movie, but for this book, there seems to be at least support at current price levels, and there are some signs of life here and there. The distribution of graded copies makes it clear to me that there are probably a lot of ungraded copies out there below a VF 8.0. Now, on the other hand, the purple cover is tough, and that combined with the early 60s vintage makes it likely that there aren't a lot more high-grade copies coming out of the woodwork. Now, I think the rough market level for the grades 8, 8.5, 9, and 9.2 are $460, $635, $975, and $1,500 US. The last 9.4 sale looks totally out of whack to me, as there were about as many 9.4 as 9.2 copies in the census. I would price a 9.4 mint copy at about $3K. Plus, you kind of have to apply some discount, as there generally seems to be a fall off in price versus scarcity as prices go above $2,000. Now, at the 8.5 grade, fair market value is $475 US, or about $625 with current exchange rates. It's in the top 17.4% of the census, with only 46 copies graded higher. Now, the prices I paid, which was about $340 Canadian plus another 60 for slabbing roughly, so 400 Canadian, 300 US all in. 9.0 copies average almost double at $950. So, verdict for me, Justice-licious. I mean, I paid a good price point on this book, and I can see why it's Uncle Sandy's favorite cover. It is a really nice cover that has really grown on me.
Yeah, and again, you're collecting these high-end books, so they tend to be very expensive. I mean, they are an investment, no different than buying a stock or something. When you're getting to pay the $400, $500, $600 all in with slabbing costs, I mean that's nothing to slouch at. That's some serious money.
Yeah, so I mean, that's why I always try to take your time and just, crunch the numbers a bit before submitting. You have to know what you're doing a little bit. You have to know that you have to purchase something at a good price point that you can allow for appreciation over hopefully a significant period of time that lets you get your money on, because people forget of all the added costs when you're selling. There's lots of taxes and fees and other transactional things that take a bite out of your profit. So you have to factor those things in.
Well, that's a great book, Jose. Fantastic. And you got to really love these CGC episodes. All killer, no filler. And certainly this one is certainly no exception. Wow, Jose, that is a spectacular. Wow. And an 8.5, you got to be happy with that grade.
Oh, yes, I was. Well, you know what? I'll get to that in a second. So, Batman 141 from August of 61. Now, personally, there seems to me to be an overriding sense of being a quote-unquote collector when you're trying to speculate about comics and to make some money on the market. Sometimes I watch the value of a comic book go up and I say to myself, now, why is this happening? It doesn't seem to make sense to me because there are literally hundreds on the census. They are always for sale, and I can always buy one. So I guess as a collector, what makes it special and why would I want it? Now, then, there are some comic books out there that hold rarity above everything else. And for me, these are where the real gains can be made if you do your homework and most importantly, you buy the comic book at the right price. Many books can be considered quote-unquote rare by the measure of the census. But what does it really mean to be considered as such? Batman 141 here is a comic that I have wanted to see hit the market for quite some time in the 9.8 grade. This book, of course, has the second appearance of the original Batgirl, Betty Kane, and also has the first appearance of Clockmaster, and has, of course, a wacky and goofy 10-cent cover by good old Mildy Sheldon Moldoff. Of the 117 graded copies in the good old Blue Universal label, there are no 9.8 copies, and only a single 9.6 copy is the highest grade. And most importantly, there are only 15 copies graded at a 9.0 or higher in the census. Now, I know that while the census gives collectors an indication of the book's population, I know demand drives what books are on the census. Also, I know that the reason why people collect key issues is because there is a chance that demand and therefore the price might increase. So, in the final analysis, did I get this copy of Batman 141 because there's only a handful in high grades? Yes, I suppose I did. But from my financial perspective, I was certain in this case that I was not overpaying for this raw copy at the price point that I paid, and that I was comfortable of the risk because of the overall market demand for high-grade Batman Silver Age key issues at this point. Now, if I put this copy on for sale, I guess I could reasonably be expected to make a little under $500 Canadian profit, minus fees and expenses, should I want to sell it. I guess a very good return on investment. Now, I've never technically featured this book, but I did feature the undercopy that I flipped to Mike, okay? I can't remember the episode I featured that. Of course, I picked this up at the Toronto Comic Book Show Con. I predicted a grade at a VF near mid 9.0. Am I unhappy that it came out half a grade lower at an 8.5? I'll take it. I paid roughly 300 Canadian. Exchange rates at the time was about 225 US. Now, fair market value at the 8.5 grade is $650 US, or about $850 Canadian. It's in the top 17.9% of the census, with only a handful of copies better than it. Yeah.
Jose, man, that is absolutely spectacular. Yeah.
I mean, it gives you kind of thing when you're reaching almost 10% of the top. I mean, it gives you almost bragging rights. Not that you should want it, but I mean, I guess the general thing about saying something like this, I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find a better grade of this book out there right now.
There are a few people out there with a grade as good or better than yours, that's for sure. And that's bragging rights is exactly what it is.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to be like that, but I'm very happy to have this book.
You want to be like that.
Whatever you say, buddy. You're a good pal.
Of course you do. Okay, that's fantastic, Jose. Fantastic book. Okay, and we are coming down to the wire here. Wow, nice grade. Adventure 381, and that's a 9. So you're happy with that. You got to be happy with that.
Actually, bullseye, right on target, predicted grade for me, VF near mint 9.0. Of course, this is Adventure 381 from June of 69.
Yeah.
Feeling a pretty basic here. In any case, everything that needs to be known, key-wise, is spelled out really right there on the cover. Yes, this issue does indeed feature Supergirl's first solo feature after a decade of throwaway cameos in various DC titles. Of course, of note, it's a solid eye-catching cover by the old and the new masters, Kurt Swan and Neil Adams themselves. Enough said. Again, I've never featured this book per se, but like the previous book, Batman 141, I did feature a lower grade copy or under copy that, again, I flipped to our good friend, special guest Mike, our friend Oogie. I picked this up at a Toronto comic book show in 2018. Again, the VF near mint fair market value for this book is about, at the 9.0 grade, $325 US, or about $420 Canadian. I paid a reasonable amount, $240 Canadian, about 180 then at US currently, currency exchange rates. And basically, you know what, I mean, I could make a little bit of money, but it's a solid pickup. It's in the top about half, 54.9% of the census. So although it's a high grade, it's a mid-table grade-wise, which tells you there are quite a few high-grade copies out there. So, but again, a solid edition, and like I said, I have a thing for Supergirl, not as badly as Power Girl, but I do try to collect her keys, at least her affordable keys, and this is one of them.
Yeah, so you paid $240 for the book with another $60 in slabbing fee. You're into it for about $300 Canadian. Am I right?
Yeah, exactly. $300 Canadian or about $225. And I said the 9.0 fair market value is $3.25 or about $420 Canadian currently.
Yeah, you're gone. You're right in. You're right where you're supposed to be there.
I'm safely in the black. I did okay, great price point wise on this one.
Yeah. Great book, Jose. Thanks. That's spectacular. And now for the final book of the evening, and
we did save the best for last.
And you're not this book is staying with me, Jose. You're not getting out of here with this book.
Yeah. Well, you have good taste, my friend. You chose the best book of the evening, or at least my favorite. The one actually I feel good about because I did quite well on it.
Yeah.
So of course we're talking about none other than Batman 232 from June of 1971. Of course, what can I say? Here's a cover that you can see from clear across the other side of a room.
Yeah.
Now, I'm wondering if this key issue would have the same value with a lame cover. What do you think? I'd say not.
First appearance of a major... Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, you're probably right. I mean, that fluorescent, almost nuclear,
green,
radioactive green, you can see it across the con at any show. I mean, it really sticks out. That's for sure. It does
have great eye appeal. I think it's a contender for the best Neil Adams cover on the title. Now, I'm not sure that some would rank it above Batman issues 227, 234, or 251, but given the importance of this issue, the nearly perfect cover intro of Ra's al Ghul as a lead-in to the really outstanding story that unfolds in the pages inside, it has to rank, in my opinion, near the top of the Adams portfolio. It's a remarkable way to announce the arrival of a villain who would loom large over Batman's world for the next 45 plus years. I first featured this, of course, in our anniversary episode number 100. Pick up at the Toronto Comic Book Show. I predicted a grade of VF plus 8.5. Very happily, I'll take a full VF near mint 9.0 on this one. I paid $300, even Canadian, about $225 US at the time with exchange rates. It made it to the top 32.3% of the census. The fair market value for a 9.0 graded copy of this book is $800 US, or a little over $1,000 Canadian with current exchange rates.
Cha-ching!
Cha-ching. A wonderful way to end our show.
That's for sure. And, well, was it worth the wait? Almost 10 months, right? 10 months to get it back?
9 months.
9 months to get these books back.
Physically out of my hands, and it took basically, CGC about the best part of almost 8 months to get the books into me.
Yeah. Honestly, I think CGC's got to do some. I recognize that I keep saying we. I recognize that you went for the regular service as opposed to the rush service. But I'm thinking that 10 months is pretty much unacceptable. They got to do something about the turnaround time.
I think the problem, and I've read this anecdotally from CGC boards where people kind of like can gripe and kind of, present their views and things of that nature, is that there is a choke point in their production in the sense of them having, for whatever reasons, a tough time maintaining and hiring of good qualified graders, so such that the thing is grinding to a halt because they're getting to this bottleneck. In other words, I've heard anecdotally again that the kind of basically wait turnaround times for books coming in at a regular service level is over 100 business days because of the number of people needing to grade this vast volume of books. What does that mean in real terms? That if you should send your books in, expect to wait for them to wait about 4 to 5 months just sitting there before they can even start the process of grading, slabbing, and shipping the book out.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. You're going to be waiting 5 months plus currently if the 100+ day business day kind of like turnaround, kind of like a delay is still going on as far as that. And don't get me wrong, CBCS is no much better as far as their turnaround times. All companies are having.
I'm not saying they are. I mean, now, what do you think the reason is that they're having trouble finding graders? Do you think they're not paying them enough?
They have to have all these things about many monetary reimbursement is a factor, but also they have to have people that obviously have a certain level of integrity and trust as far as they're having a huge impact and the perceived kind of success of the company in that sense. So they have to have these people that don't have vested interest in the hobby, which is a kind of a hard thing of an ask when you're asking them to do what they do, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get it. But anyways, you did get them back.
I did finally get them back. They're finally back and they're going in the vault. I'm very happy. Overall, generally speaking, like I said, I missed the boat completely on 4 books, but 3 out of 4 ain't bad. Heck, man, in baseball, if you can get 1 hit in 3 at bats, you're a superstar. I'll take with having kind of basically assessed and really kind of known the grade for 3/4 of the books that I was getting back within a half grade either way. It's not too bad.
And I guess you're now in the process of picking your next set you're going to be sending out.
Yes, I've just given them to Sandy, and he's going to be pressing them before sending them in probably between now and the end of the calendar year.
I'm thinking about picking, just 1 or 2 of my own books to send them in. I don't get a lot of slabs done, but I'm thinking about possibly the Iron Man #1 and maybe the Captain Marvel #1. I've got to check the grades to see what I think. I also like my first Steranko artwork, the book I'm talking about.
Oh, of course I do.
But the grade on that one is suspect, so the jury's out.
You wouldn't want to do as badly as I did on that one. It still brings up painful memories.
Yeah. But anyways, guys, if you like what you saw, that's it. These were some spectacular books, and we love doing these episodes. And once a year,
wish we could do more, but we're in the hands of CGC when we send them in. When we get back, nobody knows.
But if you like what you saw, if you like the books, leave the comments.
Yeah, we always respond. Sometimes it might take us a little bit. Life happens, but we'll always get you a response.
Sorry Mike wasn't here, but he will be back. That's for sure. He definitely will be back. And again, leave the comments. We will respond, and we will see you next time.
Hoy hoy, and very happy collecting.
Special guest Mike, yes.